in the ground I'll stay, with you all in your graves who did not float away. I'll be still.
I've always been an inland sort of guy. I was born in the heart of Scotland, where the burns carve their way through wooded glens. But the thing is, in Scotland, you're never really that far away from the coast. And for a small country, there's quite a lot of it. Most of which I've never even laid eyes on. So I've decided to embark on a coastal adventure. My name is Sullivan, by the way. I'd like to tell you that I had some sort of structured agenda or a particular reason for going, but I don't. I'm just going for a wander. And since when did you need a reason to suckle from the bosom of Mother Nature? I could pop my clogs tomorrow for all I know. Anyway, I'll be gone for a while, and I'm not sure when I'll be back. There's one thing I'm sure of though. It will be a trip to remember. My trip began in late summer. After arriving in Inverness, I made my way along the Moray Firth. I was hoping to see a mammal, which I'd never really seen properly. But I heard of a place which was apparently the best place in the country to watch them. Chanonry Point. I had a feeling I was in the right place, as there was a fair few punters eagerly awaiting a glimpse of something amazing. After walking around like they knew Wayne at school, I eventually found myself a place to sit. Now, normally when I'm doing any wildlife watching, there's a bit of patience required. But I seemed to be there at the perfect time. Only minutes after putting my bum in my seat, a team of bottlenose dolphins started to move in. I got chatting to a woman, and she said that the dolphins follow the fish in with the tide, and the current brings the fish along the shore where I was sitting. Sometimes the dolphins would swim past, just metres away. It was amazing. There was a few times when the dolphins splashed me in the face as they came up for air. It was like being baptised by Mother Nature. It really was something special. And the dolphins seemed to be having even more fun than I was. There are actually a few different collective nouns for dolphins. You've got a herd of dolphins, there's a pod of dolphins, there's a school of dolphins, and finally a team of dolphins, which I'm going to stick with. Because they're a bit like a young team, I suppose. Troublemakers. If dolphins could walk and land, I bet they would steal your shoes, tie them and throw them over a telegraph wire. That's the vibe I get off them anyway. As far as my coastal adventure goes, it couldn't really have gotten off to a better start. Sunshine, dolphins, and I even had an ice cream earlier. Chanonry Point would be as far north as I got for the time being. It was time to leave the dolphins behind. I headed back to Inverness and walked around the other side of the Moray Firth towards the coast of Aberdeenshire. Summer was buggering off quicker than a dolphin chasing about fish, and there was another coastal spectacle I was keen to catch.
Different day, one you've never lived before. So with haste, go to somewhere you have never been. Lost, I wish I still was. It's a feeling that you cannot beat when your feet do not know the road, and your head must take you home.
I'd slightly underestimated how long it would actually take to walk along the coast. But I was having fun along the way. I felt as if I was starting to get into the rhythm of the sea. There's something about the sound of waves that sort of keeps you going, encourages you to keep walking and find out what's round the next corner. I passed through some lovely wee villages along the way. One of my favourites was Crivy. Sadly, Crivy is mostly occupied by holiday homes now. After a storm and other misfortunes, Crivy became non-viable as a fishing village. But I could imagine what it would have been like in more prosperous times. Wee boats coming in and out the bay, nets and hooks and locals hanging out their washing. I could think of worse places to live. The coast was beginning to get more rugged. And well, cliffy. It's a sign that I was getting closer to my next spot. I carried on along the coast for a while, and it wasn't long before I heard the racket of gannets. Welcome to Troop Head, home to the largest gannet colony on mainland Scotland.
Cider Cove near
season for gannets was now over, and the juveniles had fledged, but there was still plenty of birds to see. I couldn't count them all, but there was at least 1 million. Well, a couple of thousand anyway. When it comes to attractive seabirds, a lot of people think of puffins. But puffins can bugger off if you ask me. They try too hard with their wee fancy beaks. I don't have a vendetta on puffins, I just think gannets are overlooked is all. They're stunning birds, with a wingspan of up to 2 metres. And the way they hang on the updraft with no effort at all, it's amazing to watch. You'll no catch a puffin doing that. It really was a beautiful bird to see in a beautiful place. It made me wish I could fly. I know I could go on a plane, but I know I'll never be able to navigate the cliffs with minimal effort the way a gannet does. All you can do is watch, I suppose. I stood there on top of the cliffs. I was reminded of how much of an insignificance I was. It's good to feel small. Us humans have a bad habit of thinking we're bigger than the ground we stand on sometimes. Over the next few weeks, I carried on walking down the east coast. I was staying in B&Bs and camping out when I could be bothered. I even found the odd cave to sleep in. It was autumn now, and I realised I hadn't even been for a dip in the sea yet. When I got down to the shore, I noticed a guy on one of those stand-up paddleboards. It looked like great fun. I'd always wanted to try it. I got chatting to the guy. Turns out his name was John, but his friends called him Zen. But I just called him John. Anyway, John was really nice, and he agreed to give me a shot of the stand-up paddleboard. He just said to leave it in the cave when I was done. Nice guy. I've done a fair bit of paddling in my time. Canoes, kayaks, lilos. So I'm sure the stand-up paddleboard would come naturally. Long story short, the paddleboarding is actually really hard. I think I stood on the board for a total of about 20 seconds. To be fair, it was a bit choppier than it was when John was paddling. That's my excuse anyway, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, it was nice just to be out in the water, exploring the Arbroath coastline and messing around a bit. After a fun afternoon, I put the board back in the cave for John and continued south. I'd been staying in a wee place called Crail in the East Nook of Fife. Do you know when you just like somewhere and the sun is shining, so you just stay there for a few days? Crail is a bit like that, I suppose. For the time of year, the weather was oddly pleasant. In fact, it was roasting. There was folks swimming and everything. Costa del Crail. Prior to this trip, I hadn't spent much time on the East Coast. But even after travelling for just a few weeks, I'd seen loads. Beaches, cliffs, caves, dolphins, gannets, nice wee villages, John. My adventure was going well. I'd only had 7 blisters. The sound of waves makes the blisters feel a lot better though. After just a few weeks of travelling, I was beginning to run a bit low on cash. I'd been camping out less than I should have been, and going to the pub most nights. I am on holiday after all, don't judge. Luckily, when I was staying in Crail, I bumped into a woman whose brother ran a restaurant in North Queensferry, and he said I could have a few shifts washing pots. The job gave me a bit of time to plan the rest of my trip, and I actually got to try some seafood. Up until now I'd just been eating tins of soup and cereal. Happy days. I was back on the move again. One of the chefs said that his uncle had a boat on the west coast, and he really liked just taking people out. And I'm not one to knock back a boat trip. I was now going across country, from the east coast to the west coast. It was great to be back in the water, and Captain Dave was a great guy as well. He said just to call him Dave, but I continued to call him Captain. I think he liked it. He even gave me a shot of steering the boat. We sailed from Loch Goilhead, and we were now travelling round the west coast. Captain Dave said he would take me to Inverary, which would take a few days. I couldn't give a mackerel how long it would take. We were on a boat and life was good.
Oh, I haven't seen your face for a long, long while. Trawling the sea for 1,000 days. Now I'm back on land, and there you stand. One night to Neverland with you. Then you realize you're going to. The moon and the wind are playing with your hair, and caution's flying in the air. Oh, I'm surprised to see there's still some light inside me. And tomorrow I'll be going back to sea.
We never travelled at any great speed. Captain Dave was never in a rush to go anywhere, which was fine by me. He would say, "We'll be there when we're there, Ken." I could get used to life in a boat. It's a nice wee surprise when you wake up and you suddenly remember that you're on the water. By now, we were well into winter, but the sun continued to shine. And it was that nice sunshine, not hot sunshine, but golden sunshine, which makes everything look nice. It was the final night on the boat, and Captain Dave and me had a few drinks and reflected on our time at sea. I was sad to be leaving the boat, but I was excited about what shenanigans my adventure still had to offer. Onwards and northwards. When Captain Dave dropped me off in Inverary, I felt a bit like a fish out of water, and a wee bit naked. My legs felt like jelly, and the thought of walking didn't fill me with as much joy as it had previously. I think I had boat blues. On the plus side, I had grown a fantastic beard while at sea. Ever since I got off the boat, I was feeling as if I wasn't getting anywhere. Not that I had a strict itinerary, but I was kind of hoping to reach the north coast before I had to go home, which at the moment didn't seem possible. After a few days of walking, I reached the famous seaside town of Oban. I was feeling a bit knackered, but on the coast there's always something to cheer you up. I spotted a flock of turnstone feeding on the shore. They were good fun to watch. Anytime one found something amongst the seaweed, another one would walk up and be like, "What you found? What you found? Can I have it? Can I have it?" Proper wee characters. I picked up a newspaper to find out what had been going on in the world. Not that I was really interested, but just in case there was a meteor or something on the way. The coast isn't the best place to be if there's a meteor coming. What I did notice was a couple of adverts in the paper, which could change the rest of my trip. I was starting a new job in Stirling soon, so only had a few weeks left of my trip before I had to start heading home. But the advert in the paper could be a game changer, so I went to investigate. Meet Graham, my new wheels. But Graham wasn't complete. I found something else which would complement him. As far as I was concerned, this was the best investment I'd ever made. Between him and the trailer, it cost a total of 35 quid. Graham might have a wee bit of rust on him, but he was still in good working order. He was older than me after all. After a few final checks, we were ready to go. Northwest, here we come.
A Hebridean breeze, a Hebridean breeze, blew from west to the east, through Loch Abernow in peace. MacDonald was your name, MacDonald was your name, for Keelyaker was in your plan, now you're sleeping with your clan. Listen to the king, you'd listen to the king, telling tales around the table as the rum begins to sing. And all who live must die, and all who live must die, so clap your hands and slap your thighs, for at least they were alive. A Hebridean breeze, a Hebridean breeze, blew from west to the east, through Loch Abernow in peace. MacDonald was your name, MacDonald was your name, for Keelyaker was your plan, now you're sleeping with your clan.
Graham and I made our way up through Fort Willie and powered on towards the north. The west coast of Scotland is a magical place, cushioned from the Atlantic by the Hebrides. In between the mainland and the Isles, rich waters are home to thousands of species and countless white sandy beaches. Many compare the beaches to that of the Caribbean, but they should really be comparing the Caribbean to the west coast. You won't find any coconuts here though. One lifetime wouldn't be enough to explore it all in any great detail. Ever since Graham and me became acquainted, my spirits had been lifted. And some of the landscapes we've been through, well, they're bloody amazing if you ask me. Riding Graham was sweaty work though. There's something amazing about being in the water. You can explore the coast all you like, but until you get in and feel your nipples tear your wetsuit, you don't really understand it. It's a kind of magic, a very cold magic. For the next few days, Graham and I spent our time exploring the never-ending west coast. We would go for a wee dip here and there and, well, just living. Although I always had a feeling we were missing places out. But that's life, isn't it? You can do your best, but there will always be stones left unturned. That's part of the magic, I suppose. I haven't really mentioned castles yet, and the Scottish coast isn't short of castles. One of the most striking ones is Donnan. The castle has seen many a battle and was left in poor state for a while, but it was restored in the 1930s, and it looks cracking now, you ask me. I was keen to keep my energy up. Graham and I had been going well so far, but the road was about to get tough. We were now heading through the Applecross Peninsula, home to one of the most infamous roads in Scotland, the Bealach na Ba, Pass of the Cattle. For years it was the only road connecting the local areas. It would be a long, steep and winding ascent. The kind of ascent which made me wish Graham's gears would work.
Far to the west, our islands on the edge, where Atlantic waves cool and sweet. We're down the road we must go. I am not to fall. The steel blue below, and the curling waves hold us to our bay. We are stuck on the main, some on board a rail, running low on corn barley oats, and there'll be no boats for a while. Sleep easy and pray the gale doesn't blow you away.
It was hot work cycling up such a steep road. If I could take my skin off, I would have. It was practically night by the time we reached the top. There aren't words to describe how knackered I was, but luckily it was all downhill after that. We followed the coast round until we eventually reached Ullapool, and Graham was attracting some bike envy. Ullapool has a population of about 1,500, making it one of the biggest towns for miles around. It's also a port for the ferries which serve the Western Isles. There's loads of stuff to see and do in Ullapool, but I only had a few days left of my trip, and I wanted to reach Durness.
I've been slowly going, I hear my lungs in their journey, suffer and stay or die as I go. My legs have gone, soul crying alone. My legs have gone, soul crying alone. So hi ho, here I go. So hi ho, I'll know. Be home ever again.
The further up the west you go, the more exposed it becomes. No longer sheltered by the Hebrides, the coast gets battered by the Atlantic. It's a stunning place, sculpted by waves in time. The weather had got, well, a wee bit wet and windy as I approached Durness. There was a storm coming, but Graham and I were taking it in our stride. And where we were heading, it didn't matter what the weather was like. Durness would be the final stop on my adventure. I was feeling a bit sad, but I was also excited. Durness is home to one of Scotland's most spectacular caves. I was put in touch with Fraser by a woman at the pub. Fraser has been working in Smoo Cave for years, and he agreed to show me around. Smoo Cave is part sea cave and part fresh water. Ironically, the rain had flooded the fresh water part, and we couldn't explore it, but Fraser was keen to show me another cave. And the route in was a narrow one. Before I knew it, Fraser had slipped inside, and I had to follow. At this point, I was slightly glad I was kind of malnourished.
Yep.
Following in the footsteps of his late colleague, Fraser had been excavating a small channel further into the cave system. A massive cave was recently discovered just a few miles south of Smoo Cave, and Fraser thinks they all might be connected, part of an undiscovered massive cave system. I got excited just listening to Fraser being excited about it. It's taken Fraser and his colleagues years to get this far. Progress can be slow, as any earth or rock removed must leave the narrow entrance that we came in from. It just goes to show you how much we don't know about the ground beneath our feet. It's nice to think that there's still places out there which no one has discovered yet. After filling a few containers of rubble, Fraser and I headed back towards the main cave. Fraser had to head home. It was his day off after all. I was glad to have met him though. I got a good buzz out of spending time with him. And the cave seemed like a fitting place to finish my adventure. Before Fraser left, he pointed me in the direction of a midden. It's basically an ancient bin, consisting of discarded shells and teeth and such things. The deepest layer was estimated to be Mesolithic. It was amazing, a pile of waste it might have been, but it gave an insight to what life was like in the coast all those years ago, long before Graham and I's time. It also made me think about people and life as it is now. A greedy bunch we are, taking too much from the natural world, who, to be honest, spend too much time taking pictures of ourselves. There's a part of me that wishes I was born thousands of years ago. I might have had a shorter life, but at least it would have been an honest one. My adventure has come to an end for now. It's been nice to live life at the pace of the sea and explore my country. But I was also excited about the places I didn't see. It's a bit of a relief to know that somewhere out there are still wild places. Places which no human eye has ever seen. Parts of the wild which will never be tamed.
So hug all the trees and the birds and the bees, I'll be with you. In their eyes I know it sounds strange, no one goes away. And the riptide flow white pulls me away, I'll sink no swim, hear my voice no more. On the shore. Nowhere to swallow water. Sinking deeper now. I watch you and you're going small as you're growing tall. So hug all the trees and the birds and the bees, I'll be with you. In their eyes I know it sounds strange, no one goes away. And the riptide flow white pulls me away, I'll sink no swim, hear my voice no more, as I leave you on the shore. Leave you on the shore.
She picked my pants him off.
Right, come on, we're rolling. Good and that.